Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be creating a very colorful rainbow card featuring the newest card kit called Stitch Blooms. This kit includes this great die set with all of these flower and leaf images that all have that stitching detail. And I've already went ahead and cut down one of the smooth white pieces of cardstock to 4 inches by 5 1/4. In addition to that panel, we're also going to be using 7 different colors of the cardstock from the kit. We're going to be using ripe raspberry, orange zest, lemon chiffon, limelight, summer splash, wild wisteria, and lavender fields. So I took the dies and I die cut all of these flowers and leaf images from the different colors of cardstock that I picked out. And I have a whole bunch of flowers here now that I'm going to use to create a design on this panel. Now I'm going to end up having way more flowers and leaves than I'll need, so you're definitely going to be able to get more than one card design out of all of these die cut pieces. So my plan here is to create a rainbow look on this panel. I want to start with my pink at the very bottom and then just kind of work my way up towards the top, going in rainbow order. So I do have this sped up quite a bit just because it does take a little bit of time to add all of these pieces onto the panel, but I really think the final result is definitely worth the effort of taking the time to kind of glue all of the pieces on. I personally find that the easiest way to add all of the flowers and leaves is just to use a liquid glue pen. So that's what I have here, and I'm just kind of adding the glue to each piece as I go. You can definitely use a liquid glue in a squeeze bottle. If you have like a Xyron sticker maker, that would work as well. It's completely up to you, but I definitely find that using a tape runner is hard to do since these images are pretty small and it's hard to add the adhesive on there. So I don't really have a design in mind as I'm adding the different flowers and leaves. I just kind of started at the bottom and filled in the space. And then when I thought I had enough of one color, I would just move on to the next color. Keeping in mind that I have 7 different colors, so I wanted to make sure that I was able to get all of those colors onto the panel. So I just find the easiest thing to do is just kind of add the different pieces before you add adhesive just to see if they fit in the open spaces. And then once you know everything is going to fit, then just put that adhesive on there and then glue them on. And this design would work in so many different color schemes. It doesn't have to be rainbow. You can keep it all monochromatic and have just one color. You can have actual colors for your flowers and just do your leaves in green like traditional flowers and leaves would be. It's completely optional, and there are so many different ways that you could do this type of design. So I'm just making my way up towards the top now. I almost have the entire panel finished. So now I have my lightest of the purple colors, and I'm just adding that onto the very top. And I'm kind of letting pieces hang off the side. As you can see, I did that from the bottom all the way up towards the top. I want to kind of have the little images going off of the panel as well as in the center. And we can just trim those off with our scissors when we're done. So I just added that last piece there, and now we have the entire panel completely covered. And having that stitching detail on the flowers just adds so much more to the overall design. So I just flipped the panel over, and I'm using the edge of that as my guide to take my scissors and very carefully cut along there, and that's going to cut off all of the extra pieces. And then once I have that done, you can see we have a nice finished edge, and we have this beautiful pattern of rainbow colors with all of these great stitched flowers and leaf dies. So now that we have the panel finished, we can create our card base. So I have the Lavender Fields cardstock, and I've trimmed that down, and I'm going to create an A2 size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And since we already had that panel trimmed down before we added our flowers and leaves, this is going to fit nicely onto that card base with a little bit of a border peeking out from around the edges. So I just added some regular adhesive to the panel, and now I'm going to center it onto the card base and adhere that down. And then once we have that done, we can go ahead now and create our sentiment. So I'm using a sentiment from the More Essential Sentiment stamp set, and I'm stamping this onto the Lavender Fields cardstock with some Versamark ink because I want to heat emboss it with white embossing powder. So I stamped the sentiment, "I miss your hugs," and now I'm just adding my white embossing powder directly on top of there. Once I have that fully heat set, I'm going to trim it down in my paper trimmer, and now I have this nice little sentiment strip here that matches our card base that we can add to the finished card. I wanted to keep the sentiment pretty simple since we have a lot of detail in the background, but I definitely wanted to have some type of sentiment included. I like the idea of kind of anchoring that sentiment underneath of that orange flower on the right side of the card there, but since we had already adhered it down, I wasn't able to tuck the sentiment strip under there. So what I did is I just die cut another one of the same flower from the same color of cardstock, and I'm just adding some pencil lines so I know exactly where I need to trim this down so that it fits over top of the existing flower we have there, but still has that nice straight edge. Once I had that cut down, I just added some glue to my sentiment strip. And I'm just going to add this directly onto the card, and then I'm going to layer that little orange flower directly over top of that. And that's just going to let that sentiment strip kind of peek out from behind there and really ground it on the card. And then the last thing I want to do to finish the card is just use some of the sparkling crystals that come in the card kit, and I'm going to add them to the center of some of the flowers and the little circles that we have on the card. Now, I don't really have a plan in mind. I'm just kind of adding glue to a bunch of these until I feel like I had enough gems on the card front, and then that is going to complete my card. So thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you got some ideas on some fun ways to use the new Stitch Blooms card kit and these beautiful dies that include both leaves and flowers with that faux stitching detail. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.